Math Academy in school program. I taught in it, right? And I got a little bit of a taste of the kind of pushback from just bureaucracy and administration. Because there was even like after it was even established in the school program, running fairly smoothly. I mean, there was still, it's like it was never just like done like just like you write code and it works and you just like leave it there and it keeps working and you check back on it, it's the same code and it's doing the same thing and you're just like, all right, well, that was a constant source of like,
You know what it's like? It's like an organ transplant.
yeah,
You can get the liver or kidney transplanted, but your body is going to be continually, its immune system is continually trying to reject it, right? So you have to have these sort of, I don't know, white cell suppressing drugs or things, immune suppressing drugs to keep the organ from being rejected, which was something that we were dealing with because I would be asking you about what's going on in school, for administrators talking to you, different thing is like how to keep Math Academy from being rejected, expelled from the school district,
yeah,
right?
yeah, right, because it was like the Math Academy was like an official program, there's kids in class there, it's not like there's the risk of the class just suddenly drops out of the school program midway during the year, but there's stuff like the instructors not reviewing topics, not holding, there's a bar for the level of standard and accountability that has to be met to keep this thing running smoothly, to keep kids legitimately doing AP Calc BC in 8th grade and getting
Yeah.
solid scores on the AP exam. And there's always the pressure um, from people who are not fully vested in it, who are not
Not
just,
fully enrolled. They're
yeah, they're
fully
not fully
enrolled.
enrolled and they want to like, it's like they're they're running this incremental gradual, let's just make it a little bit easier each day.
Degrade it.
And
Just continually degrade it.
yeah,
Reversion to the mean, right? Because like people ask, well, why does everything mean reverting? Right? It's because it's a lower energy state, for the system or whatever to accept. Like, why have you stopped exercising? Do you get out of shape? Or why does things just because it's less energy, it takes less work to be out of shape than it takes to be in shape. So your body, as soon as you stop like actively going running every day or whatever you're doing, you're losing, your degrade, your fitness, all this stuff is degrading. And it's the same with the program is that you just have these people who are like, well, Math Academy, because it has such high standards, requires more work, requires more vigilance, more effort from the instructors to keep the kids doing these things that they have to do, that they can't just like phone it in and be like whatever, like they do with most of their other classes. The parents have to kind of stay on top of it and keep them enrolled. And if a teacher just wants to get in and doesn't really want to, fight against the the degradation, they don't want to push, and they don't even push that hard, but it's easy for people to get lazy. Humans we're fundamentally lazy. We fundamentally don't want to do shit, right? I mean, your instinct is to just lie down, watch TV or something, right? I mean, it's just to do the least amount of thing possible. And as you notice, it's like people are always, because how we evolved. It's like there's into an ecosystem where it's like we don't know where we're going to get food. We don't know how much energy it's going to take to find more food, so we need to be careful about how we expend our energy. I mean, you don't see lions or whatever running around just for fun. They conserve their energy until it's time to go hunt, right? And that's because that gives them a competitive advantage, an evolutionary advantage, is to conserve energy unless you need to. So humans, we conserve energy unless we really need to expend it. And what that means is people's default is to conserve energy. It's like, look, if I have 3 ways to drive to work and one takes 10 minutes and one takes 30 minutes, I'm going to take the 10-minute drive. I mean, it's like I can walk around. If I, what's the fastest way I can make a sandwich? I'm not walking the long way around the island every time I get the things out and then I'm going to make it and then put everything back. I'm not going to be bang, 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 right? Just, we always are optimizing to conserve energy, conserve time. Okay, so that's the default reflex of all humans, which means if the thing that you are doing in some way requires more effort, more work, even if it's not that much more, it's still more, then they're going to try and do less, which means they're going to be degrading it over time. And if they degrade it a little bit and there was no real pushback, say, hey, hey, what are you doing? Get that thing back up, right? Then you're going to degrade a little more the next time. And you just degrade. I got away with that. It's like the power of gradualism. And then all of a sudden you look around, you're like, what happened? This thing is just a husk of what it used to be. It's like, well, humans did less and less over time, got away with it. There was no painful pushback from someone to say, hey, fix this or you're fired or you're losing funding or whatever. And they're, oh, then they will degrade. They will find other ways to cheat it. It's like, you know, if a trainer has, is training someone in, and whatever the thing is, and they're just doing less effort and they're kind of cheating and they're kind of moving their body around, so they don't really have to do as much effort, and the trainer doesn't say anything, they'll just keep cheating it,
Yeah. Yeah, right. And it's the trainer's job to point it
Hey,
out
keep your back
and
straight. No, no, no.
yeah.
Don't limp your body. Just use that, or whatever it is. Like, do the thing. Yeah. So, right. And people are actually paying trainers to keep, because people know they themselves will cheat it. Like, I won't go to the gym, but I have an appointment with this trainer, so I gotta go. Right? Because I would say, like, there'll be this debate. Like, you'll see these, like, I don't know, these actors, and they're all like, they're for some action role, and they're like totally really fit. And they're like, wow, they got their own nutritionist and their own personal trainer. And so, okay, well, why? Okay, true. Why is that an advantage? I mean, working out is not that hard. I mean, you can get a YouTube video, you can get an app on your phone for free or $1 a month or whatever, and you can get very good exercise. It's not that hard. What it is somebody who is sitting there making you not do less, do more, do what you need to do, show up 6 days a week, do this stuff that I'm telling you, do it the right way, and then you'll get, because we just natural, we all know, like, I won't go, I won't do it.
It's kind of funny how you'd see this in the I just when you and I would talk about our classes, we would talk about the like exponential decay of XP. Like so basically like you get kids they come in at the beginning of the school year, you make it a rule, you guys need to get 40 XP done a day, and I want at least half of that done during class. Like you can talk to friends, you can be a kid, there's time for that, but you also the the way you earn that is by actually sitting down and focusing for at least half the time and knocking out your XP. Um, and so the thing was like you initialize them correctly, they're knocking out their desired XP. But if you don't continually check in on them, hold them accountable like that, the XP will gradually go on an exponentially decay curve. And so they'll start out like some kids doing 30 XP a day on in the first couple days. It turns into 25 XP a day, 20, 15, 12, 10, 7. Like if you don't check in and force a standard, it'll fall below the standard. The standard is only it is effectively only how much you enforce it. Yeah, so that was it definitely felt like a kind of every year was kind of like a almost another like some small scale one of these battles where it's like, okay, got to get all the kids excited, got to get all the parents excited, email every single parent, establish a good relationship, even if there's no issues with a kid, like if a kid aced their quiz or whatever, or just was really focused today and did a great job or asked a good question, go email their parent, establish a good relationship. I was fortunate that you coached me on this at the beginning, that where it was like I had a lot of these good relationships in place because you're going to need to use those later when the kid is not doing as well. The kid has kind of fallen off the rails a little bit and they're not responding to you in class telling them to get their act together. You can email their parent, or if they, sometimes this is not, sometimes this kind of sneaks up on you where the kid will just tell their parent, oh, I had so much homework today. They didn't actually have that much homework, they just didn't really they goofed off in class. They had like 25, 30 XP to do at home. And then they didn't really focus on that at home. They were all simultaneously watching YouTube or texting with their friends or whatever. And it took them like 3 hours to do because they were only working like a quarter of the time. Um, and and so the parent will email. There were a couple times when I got an email from a parent and I was like, what is going on? So what I would do is I would have the kid sit next to me during class, and then be like, all right, you're knocking out all your XP today during class. You I today is not a day for socializing, but if you knock out all your XP today during class, then you can kind of go back to like you're not in jail tomorrow. You're
Not
out
permanent
again. You can
detention. You're
yeah
temporary. This is just one day
yeah
detention
exactly.
with me.
Yeah, and just to demonstrate to them and their parents that if they actually just sit down and focus, and I'm not helping them, by the way. I'm not helping them do their work or anything. I am just their accountability manager to make sure that they're just show them what they can do if they focus the whole time. And so they complete all their XP and more. They knock out like 50 XP in the day. So they completed all of today's work. They have no homework today, and they've cut down their workload for tomorrow as well. And so
Right.
they go home. I email their parent, hey, guess what? Like I made sure so and so was on task today, like fully focused the whole time. They knocked out like, all of their XP and then some. And and the parents' reaction is like this is not like an adverse communication with the parent. It's all like you have a positive relationship, so the parent trusts you and knows that you just want to see their students succeed in this program, and you frame it as a positive. Like, look how much they did when they actually focused, and like you got the parent on your side. The kid is like hopefully at least somewhat on your side because you've kind of demonstrated to them like dude, it's not I'm not asking you to run a marathon every day. Like this is just do your push-ups, do your pull-ups. It's it's like taking the dog for a walk. It's 20 minutes, 30 minutes of full full effort is all I want from you in class. And you can chat with your friends uh, outside of that time. There's plenty the other 20 minutes of class. Like yeah, you can goof off. It's just yeah, making sure
Yeah, this is
they
not a
put
work
that
camp,
intensity in.
but it's also not recess. It's
Yeah.
like, hey, just do some work and right. Well, it's yeah. So it was funny when you first started becoming an instructor and stuff. I mean, I obviously I had been doing this. I had done it for years, so I had some experience, with it and how to make it work. But also, like as a parent myself, like I understood, like, okay, how do you get parents on your side? Because if you can get parents who are totally enrolled in this project and they really trust you, then your life is way easier than if you have parents who are like, I don't know, there's some class or something. I don't know who teaches it, right? They don't know you. They don't trust you because they don't know you, right? By default, people don't necessarily trust people they don't know. I mean, they just do a little bit of trust, but not much. But if you're like, send them an email at the beginning of the year, hey, this is what we're doing. This is a really exciting thing. And then you kind of, your student, hey, your student's been doing really well. You get them, I think, great. I'm really excited about what her capability is. I think she's going to do this great stuff. And parents are like, I love those emails. I love them. Right. And to it's so easy to write as a teacher. You don't have to send that many out. You send a few, and it's just catnip for parents. Oh, your daughter is such a delight to have in class, and I just see she's been progressing so well, and I've seen her overcome some of these obstacles, and I think she can do great in this program. And I'm just, it does require consistent effort, and so sometimes students will, kind of fall off, and I may occasionally have to remind, and they're like, oh yeah, yeah. So the parents are like, they're in. They're like,
Mhm.
Justin's awesome. This guy's incredible, right? And so then when this girl like slacks off for a few days and you say name, I say, I'm a little disappointed because Monica didn't, she's, I don't know, last a really rough couple of days. She's been really distracted, but and I understand not every kid has a great week. As humans, we just, we need to get her back on because I don't want to fall too far behind. And the parents, oh yeah, right. They're like, sure, yeah, we're on it, right? We're on
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, right. Because they will. Right. If you establish that good relationship and communicate to them early about any problems that are kind of starting, any way that the kid is starting to fall out off the rails, the parent will solve the problem for you outside of class. I can't tell you how many times the kid kind of like slacked off in class, and I I emailed their parent just to say like, hey, just a heads up, so and so has more homework than usual today because they were they were not really completely focused in class, which it happens sometimes, but I just wanted to give you a heads up in case the kid has some more work today. But the good news is, like, last week there was a day that they just like were fully focused the entire day. Like, their best friend wasn't there in class, and so they just focused the entire time, and they knocked out like 50 XP in 40
Because you're
minutes.
getting ahead of the kids'
Yeah,
spin. Because the kids are
yeah,
spinning this. You
yeah, yeah,
have a disinformation agent
exactly.
actively trying to counter all of your messaging, right?
Yeah,
It's like information war going on. And this 11-year-old or 15-year-old, whatever, they're like, well, it wasn't fair, it was too hard, and I didn't da, da, da. And they come up with so much nonsense. And the parent, like, you kind of want to believe your kid, right? You're like,
yeah,
well,
yeah. Well, that's your default. Your kid is right unless you have very
yeah,
strong evidence to the contrary.
right. So, and I remember one thing I used to say to you: communicate early and often. You
Hmm.
almost cannot over communicate with parents. I mean, you probably could, but it would take, you're not, that's not going to be the error. The error is not going to be that you're sending 3 emails every day and the parents going to be like, Jesus Christ, I get these wall of text emails from Justin 3 days. You're not going to do that. The error is you talk to them and then 2, 3 months go by and you don't talk to them and they're kind of out of the loop. Kids falling off. And then you're like, well, this kid has spent the last 6 weeks doing nothing and it's a whole problem, right?
Yeah,
It's like you want
yeah,
to
yeah,
stitch in
yeah. You
time is saving time, right?
can't let it grow to be that big of a problem. Because then if you do, then everyone just digs in their heel. Like the problem is just too big to accept that this is an actual problem. So everyone just wants to say like, no, you're crazy. Your expectations are way too high. This is not an actual problem. And so it makes it harder and harder to get things back on the rails because now there's like a some momentum in being off the rails, and that's kind of the state of homeostasis. The kid is used to not doing a whole lot of work in class, like, whereas if you catch that at the beginning, get it early, communicate with parent like parent will catch the kid up that even, like, if there's only a deficit of like of 30 xp 40 xp, it's like, guess what, like, parents just going to make the kid do it that evening, and then the kid's going to come back. They're fine. They're like on the rails the next day. We're all good. We just maintain. But yeah, if the kid has racked up a deficit of like thousands of XP, thousands of minutes worth of learning that they didn't do, then it's just, yeah, you get into the position where, like, one thing I saw sometimes with teachers who did not do as good a job on keeping kids on the rails is like the kids will come in at the end of the semester, they're like 2000 XP behind, or 3000 or whatever. It's like, again, like 1 XP 1 minute, 2000 3000 minutes, like, you're not going to make that up in 1 week. Like, if if it's the last week of the semester, guess what? It's already too late. But they would lobby for some kind of like,
Parents, oh, can you just do this thing? And they always want to like
yeah.
make up and makeup's on the makeup, and
What if I do
you know,
500 XP this week, 100 XP every single day? Can I get an A in the course? And it's like, well, I appreciate the effort, but like, you have 3000 XP to make up. 500 XP, you're going to learn a sixth of what you were supposed to learn. So it's just, once things get to be that bad, it just becomes a bad explosive situation that that the solution is just don't let it get into that state, because that's,
yeah,
you never win.
yeah. The thing is that parents have, because of um, the accessibility of teachers, that they are a text or an email away, right? Parents have become much more involved in this process. So, like when I was in high school, You got a progress report, maybe, and I don't even think high school. I'm thinking of progress reports. You just got your semester or quarter grades. You got a B, got a B minus, you got a B plus, whatever it was. Hey, it's like that was it. There's no negotiating. There's no nothing. That was it. We didn't have makeup tests. You got to see. You got to see, man. But I think what happened is, it's a combination of helicopter parenting and all this. There's a lot of sort of cultural changes that have taken place over the last 30, 40 years. But one of them had to do, I think, with parents being able to have direct access to teachers. When I was in high school, teachers didn't meet with parents ever. And so there was no, but now, since parents can lobby and make parents' lives really make teachers' lives difficult. If I say this the right way. So since parents can easily lobby through a barrage of emails and texts, send emails to the teacher, to the principal, to the whatever, and then just make everything really painful. The parents are acting like an agent. It's like a sports agent, right? And they are just gonna, what they want, a lot of them want is their student to do. They want to feel like they're learning, but they want less work because they don't want the stress of their kid having to do a lot of work, and they want to be able to have family time and all that, which is understandable. And they want the kid to have like great grades so they can go to whatever college they want to go to, right? But they also want their kids to learn a lot, but they don't want their kids to do a lot of work, right? And kids aren't going to do a lot of work, not going to learn much unless they put in a fair amount of work. Unfortunately, that's how the world works. You don't learn a lot by doing nothing or by just spacing out class.
And it doesn't have to be a ton of time. Just you have to be actually doing intense work for that short period of time.
You're reading Hamlet. You actually got to read Hamlet. You actually got to go and take notes and try and decipher passages, and it takes work. You don't just go watch, Mel Gibson's version of it on YouTube or something and be like, oh, no, you actually got to do work. So, but parents, it's like, if they want to do less work, I want there to be low stress at home. But I want my kid to be really educated, but I also want them to get great grades. Okay, well, there are some kids who like work really, really hard by default. Most of them don't. There's the whole spectrum. But anyway, the parents at the end of the day, once they realize that, oh my God, my kid's going to get a C, or is he going to get some B's when I thought they're going to get A's? And they're like, oh my God, they're not going to get to go to Harvard or whatever dream they had, And so then they serve as this to lobby. They want to lobby the school. And so they do. And so that has helped lower the standards, I think, especially these private schools, right? Because we're paying $30, $40, $50, $60,000 a year. And my kid works really hard in this. So there's constant, and the superintendents and the head of school and stuff, they're like trying to keep the parents at bay, because that's what pain for the schools, for the administration and the teachers are parents. P for pain, right? Pain. I remember asking, so I used to coach this men's soccer team for years, and all these guys who were these ex-college players, and a bunch of them would coach these sort of elite academy level club soccer teams, under 12, under 14, under 16. And I'd be like, I'd ask him, like, how do you like that? Like, oh, it's great. The kids are great. He's like, but the parents are a nightmare. I'm like, really? He's like, oh yeah. It's like, why didn't my kid play left? They should play the right side. And why isn't they starting? And you said, and it's just a constant lobbying from the parents. It just ruins the experience for the coach. The coach is trying to, and I'm not saying every coach makes good decisions or this is fair, whatever, but it's the parents. The parents equal pain for coaches and teachers and administration. And so they're, knowing that that's where the pain's coming, they are trying to do everything they can to limit said pain. And a lot of the changes you see in the curriculum, there's no gifted class, accelerated classes. We don't do a lot of homework. We have makeup tests and makeups on the makeups, and we have all this stuff. Is to keep the agents, parents, from be lobbying and creating all this endless cycle of pain. And so then you get this situation you have now. And so the teachers are just like, whatever, man. I mean, just make it really easy. I mean, you taught at a
Oh yeah.
very kind of a froofy, expensive public school. They had a private school that had a bunch of a lot of parents worked in entertainment and Hollywood and the music industry, right? I mean, they're relatively famous
Yeah.
parents, right?
Yeah. 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 That's right. Yeah. There were there were a couple well-known musician or musical artists, like just people you'd recognize by name. That their parents or that their kids went to the school. But
There were
yeah, it
probably
was
a
a
lot more that were just like one notch down that you just
yeah.
didn't know about that are just, oh wow, that's a guy who produced this and she's the head of music and whatever, you know.
Yeah, yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, or a couple. There was one really big,
Mhm.
probably like 80% of the USA knows their name. Uh,
Right.
but yeah, there was a whole spectrum. But yeah, I mean, it was a similar thing where, I mean, especially with these parents were very successful, right? But they didn't exactly make their success off of a straightforward academic discipline. It's not like you got a bunch of well-known authors or a bunch of mathematicians, or it's not like
Or even people worked at the CDC or worked in technology.
yeah,
These are
yeah,
these are musicians. These
not
are
software engineer. Like it's not hardcore academic focused parents, right? So so it's kind of like right. It gets to be that kind of like they want their kids to be set up for success, but they also don't really believe that much in the success of like in an academic sense. So it
not a
becomes
direct correlation. Like you get A's in all these AP classes means you're going to have a really successful career. Because I didn't do that. I dropped out of college. I went to community college for a year, went to some music school for a while, and then I kind of now I'm head of
yeah.
licensing at whatever music company, and I make $1 million
So
a year.
yeah, so basically it turns into they ultimately want their kid to get into a good college, form good professional connections in
Just
college.
status, just sort of
Yeah,
status in
right.
general.
Status, yeah, yeah, and but right, they don't really they, subject to the constraint that the kid gets into a good college. They want to minimize the amount of work to get there.
Yeah,
Generally,
with the
I mean,
least amount, because that's a headache for them, right?
yeah, there's many exceptions to the rule, but these exceptions prove the rule. Like 90-95% of the time, this is what you're up against. And and it's
Well,
kind of similar to just the whole it comes back to like if you let things drift off the rails for long enough, it just becomes an unsolvable problem later down the road. Once it's built up enough steam, like you get kids who come into Calc BC class
mhm.
and they don't know what the sine of pi over 2 is. They have forgotten how to factor a quadratic, like not even like standard. Oh, I forgot the secant tangent identity for trig, or I forgot this. What's the rational roots theorem again? Or like the
Yeah, which is
pre-calculus.
understandable. Like, yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
they're
what
like
is the how's it work?
yeah, they're like way back. We forgot some basic algebra, really basic algebra. And oh, by the way, we didn't just forget that. We forgot everything that depends on it. We forgot all of exponents, all of logarithms. What's a logarithm again? I forget what that is. Like it's like, geez, man. And so, um, right, it just becomes well, in order to get these kids legitimately back on track, they're you can't do that in a 1 hour a day school class. Like you gotta you'd have to like make it a whole thing. They got tons of homework every night. By the way, the school it didn't even have a class 1 hour a day, 5 days a week. It was in this kind of like weird block schedule where I think like effectively you got maybe like 35-40 minutes of class per day on if you averaged it out, and then
Mhm.
also subtracted out whatever like events or there was a lot of that kind
But
of
did
stuff.
they do something like you couldn't grade homework, or they didn't do there was some limitations on what you could do,
Yeah,
or
well, it's like you can you can grade the homework provided that you don't assign a numeric grade. You can It was some like you had to break it into mastery standards
Hmm.
that are very vague, nebulous things. You can't make a mastery standard too specific. And so it has to be in this vague, like student can solve problems by reasoning mathematically using the structure of equations. Like what like you how you gonna it's just too vague. So it's hard to like enforce like a, a real but where is the standard for that? Well, that could mean anything from student is able to simplify trig identities to leverage trig identities to solve difficult integrals to student can solve a linear equation by noticing that you can combine like terms like what it's just anything. But yeah, so the standard is too vague, but also it's um but it was like you couldn't ensure repeated practice too, because it's like once a student has demonstrated proficiency of a standard, like how do you take that away from them? You can't really take that
Yeah,
away.
they're operating under the delusion that once you know something, you know forever. You don't forget it.
Yeah, so it was like it was one of those things where it's like even like okay, if you want to like seriously assign homework, force kids to do homework, you have to fight this whole battle on just on getting this homework mechanism in place. So so yeah, it was one of I mean yeah, I only taught for a year there.
Well, I
I was
remember you
like,
were just in
no.
shock at how little math your physics they didn't students knew. Like you had like a physics class, but they most of them
Oh,
really struggled
yeah,
to solve simple linear equations, like in basic algebra,
yeah,
right? And you were
yeah,
like,
yeah. I
trying
well,
to
I
teach
thought
them.
we were. I mean, I was told the kids had taken algebra before, which I guess was technically true. In some sense, they had technically signed up for a course that was technically called algebra, and they had technically received some kind of end of the year grade in it that got constituted passing. There's a lot of technicalities there that really either it wasn't actually algebra or the grades were not assigned properly or whatever. There's uh, the end result was you got kids they didn't know how to work with quadratic equations, they didn't know how to factor a quadratic, they had to be
Mhm.
retaught how to use the quadratic formula, and even then it took several days to reteach this wasn't just a reminder like remember
It's almost
last
like
year
they had
when you
never
did the
seen it before. They're like, "What is
yeah,
this?"
it was almost like that. They'd either never seen it before or they had maybe seen it like once or twice and not seen it for a year since. So like effectively they had never they had forgotten it to the point that it just had to be like retaught from scratch. And even stuff like linear equations was I had to reteach some of that. How do you what happens if the variable is on both sides of the equation? Like this is a high school physics class after algebra. So anyway, yeah, it was just yeah, it was not good. Um, so yeah, we basically just checked a few boxes on some algebra, some easy algebra based physics, just like just
They
plug
throw
this
physics
into
for
some
poets. You're like, "What
formula,
can I do here?" And I
do a
think,
little lab. Yeah,
yeah, and I think a lot of teachers, well-meaning teachers who are doing their want to do their best, who are optimistic about the capability of the students, they're in a situation that's just like a no-win situation. I mean, you're in a no-win situation. That kids come in, they don't have the prerequisite knowledge that they should absolutely have. They don't aren't there is no enforcement or expectation of the enforcement of reasonable standards, homework, grades, grading, and so you get this thing happening where it's like, they talk about like AI slop. It's like you get education slop, right? It's just you get all this thing. It's called education, right? But people aren't. The kids haven't learned anything. They have no or very little in the way of demonstrable skills that
yeah.
anyone can
Everything's on paper. Not that but you ask a kid to perform the skill in front of you. Like, do you actually have the skill? No. It's like it's optimizing for the paper communication of these
It's all
skills, the stuff that
credentialism.
colleges will
You have
see.
this GPA, you went to this school, you have this degree, and we're all finding out that the emperor has no clothes, that a lot of these people don't know much of anything. And if they had, they'd forgotten it. It's really bad. And teachers will teachers who care will they'll sometimes give it up. They're like, yeah, it's kind of a joke. I mean, you have some individual teachers who are really good and are trying to overcome this situation in their local vicinity of what they have control over. Maybe you get someone who's head of their little math or science department in some high school, and they're like, look, we're going to really push these kids starting in ninth grade. I'm going to get them up because they need to be able to do this stuff, and we're going to take this seriously. But it takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of
Yeah,
effort, and they don't get paid anymore for doing it,
there's
right?
really no incentive other than them not to have to deal with like it's kind of just keeping their own house clean, so that they don't end up in a situation where they have kids taking their calculus course can't pass the AP exam because they don't know their algebra. But beyond that, it's just, yeah, there's really no incentive.
Yeah, I mean, why you got to fight with parents? You got to fight with the kids. You got to fight with the principal. Everybody's like, "Whoa, why are you making everybody do extra work? And this is all too much." And we have policies against grading, and it's a nightmare. I mean, my daughter, who's a senior in high school at Pasadena High School, and like a lot of her classes, they don't grade homework. They don't grade it. I mean, I remember
Yeah,
when she was in ninth.
I remember you asked me to like just sit down a couple of years ago, back when I was in Pasadena,
She was
and
a
she was
freshman
like,
in high school.
yeah, yeah, and I think she was
Taking
taking
because she
physics.
was more advanced in math, she was taking AP Physics,
Yeah.
and I wasn't seeing her do a whole lot of work. I wasn't hearing much what was going on. I know physics is really hard, and I'm just like, and you're a physics guy. You did a lot of physics in high school and stuff. You were thinking that was the direction you wanted to go and was physics until you went into math. So
Mhm.
I knew, and I took one year of physics in college, and kind of, it wasn't something I kept up with. So I was like, all right, Justin, can you like sit down and tutor for an hour? I'll pay you, whatever, but just, and you're like, yeah, okay. And continue.
Yeah, well, it was amazing because I asked her like, okay, so what homework problems are we doing, and what did you, or what problems did you get wrong last time or whatever? And she was just like, well, it's not graded, so I don't know. And I was like, what do you mean it's not graded? Like, we're just doing problems that are, there's no point. You just, like, we might as well just write down some gibberish on some just like math slop on a piece of paper, and just upload that, and that's, there you go, get your completion grade. And so the problem is, if nobody's checking the homework, how's the kid going to learn? Because the kid doesn't know how to do these problems correctly. The parents almost certainly don't know how to do these problems correctly. Well, you depend on it. Like, the only kids that get through are the kids who have somebody in their life, or whose parents can bring in somebody into their life who can effectively do what the teacher is supposed
Or
to
they're
be
at the
doing.
99th percentile. They're
You're
just
right. Yeah.
super high aptitude and they're really into it. And so they're going to all these extra resources because they're a physics nerd or whatever. And they're just going and watching videos and doing this extra stuff because this is what they want to do. But that's the 1 out of 100 kid, maybe. Everyone
Yeah.
else is like, I don't know what's going on. Right. And you have a
And
couple
yeah,
of
and
kids who
it's,
are drafting off that one kid. He's helping his or she's helping her little few couple friends
yeah.
and they're kind of figuring it out, but everybody else is just like, what's
Yeah,
happening?
yeah, yeah, exactly. And eventually it gets, or actually very quickly, it gets just so out of hand that even if you had a tutor sit with the kid and help them work through the homework problems, they wouldn't get a whole lot out of it because the problems are now so far ahead of their ability. We're asking them to do situations like block rolls down a wedge with friction and some other pulley force or whatever, and they don't even know how to do this under frictionless, pulley-less, just gravity, like how long until it hits the bottom. They don't have their component skills, and so you're basically like, it's almost like their homework, they can't their homework is to do a double backflip. Kid doesn't even know how to do a single backflip. They don't even know how to like tuck their legs when they jump. That's where you're at. And so but what you have to do is you have to like somehow get video evidence of them doing a double backflip or something. Well, actually, you don't even need video. You just need, because it's only graded on completion, right? You don't have to get it right. So you just have to like film them doing like a double backflip attempt. Who cares if it lands properly or not? And then we'll just check the box, say that they learned double backflip. Meanwhile, they can't even do a single.
Yeah, because the teacher's like, the administration will, did you get everyone through this unit? Yes, everybody got through this unit. We did this. Check. All right, now give me my paycheck. Right?
Yeah,
My checks for paychecks.
I
Right?
get it. It's just too, it's so vague. What does it mean to get through a unit? Well, we're gonna, with the forces that we've talked about, the incentives at play, what's going to happen is the amount of work and effort is going to be reduced, subject to like that you can argue under some technicality that they have gotten through the unit, even if that means just having heard the material communicated to them in class, not understood it, not able to solve problems to it, or whatever. We have read this section of the book in class. Like,
Yeah, it's terrible. Yeah, so I think parents are not aware of actually how little their kids are learning. Whatever you think your kids are learning, in most cases, they're learning a lot less. They know less, they're doing less work, they have less skill, fewer skills, less understanding. It's bad. Especially things in math and physics and stuff like that. Now, stuff is like, well, how's their American history course or how's their French class? Like, yeah, it's less important. It's easier to be just kind of like, all right, we talked about, the Constitution or something. We talked about the Revolutionary War, and you're like, all right, you know, even if you're a parent, you might talk about, well, tell me, what was the Boston Tea Party or something? It's like, it's not that important.
yeah,
But
it's less foundational for other skills that you might need to do, and also it's less of a hierarchy where it's like if you
mhm.
fall behind on the history of one country, and we move on to the history of another country, like okay, you just start with the history of this new country.
Yeah, if you
Like it's
forgot
not.
about what happened in Sparta and Athens, like it doesn't really affect, the Renaissance. It's like, I don't know. I mean, where
Yeah,
was
yeah.
Sparta
Whereas in
again? Was
math,
Sparta the
like
one that was the warrior one, or was that Ithaca, or I don't know. Like, no, I mean,
yeah,
it'd be great if you knew it, but it's not gonna. And your parents probably don't remember it, and it's not gonna affect, you're doing the unit on the Enlightenment or something. But math, physics, things like that, yeah, it's a real problem. So, but the problem and the thing of math and physics and all this stuff is it just takes a lot of hard, consistent work to keep making progress. It's just that the standards have to be higher, they have to be more rigorous, they have to be quantitative. Um, that's just is. And if you're not going to do it and you're going to make everything mushy and fluffy, and we're just going to have group discussions and we're going to do projects and we're going to progressing towards standards, then guess what? Everybody's going to do less work, kids, teachers, everybody. And at the end of the day, people come out and, nobody knows anything other than like that one, two kids who were sort of mostly self taught. And, you know, that's it. That's how it rolls. So